All right, and we are back on a beautiful Thursday. You can already see our rankings are up. As mentioned there in the intro, we'll be, for the podcast audience, at least the intro, we'll be talking about our rankings today, 24 through 1. We've got the whole crew with us today, though Tony is somewhat here. He'll be back in a minute. But Dennis and Matt are here right now. Dennis, Matt, how you guys doing today on this wonderful Thursday?
Well, the weather finally broke here. We had a day where the high was only about 91, a little bit of cloud, a little bit of rain. Supposed to, I think my wife said next week, highs in the high 70s. Looking forward to it. Hopefully I got a week to get, one more week, and I'm on vacation. So see if I can make it. I got short timers.
Yeah, we had the same thing here today. There's a little cold front that comes through, knocked us back down to 83. I was like, okay. But hopefully, Matt was here a week or so ago. Sometimes it gets to upper 80s and 90s. If you can get a good thunderstorm to go through, it drops down to like 60 degrees.
Yeah.
And that's what we've been missing the last couple of days. Yesterday was kind of miserable, but it's supposed to start being more rainy. So I'm hoping we're trending down. I got the pumpkin spice sent for my office. I'm prepared to get my pumpkin spice latte. I'm ready for it to go back down to the 70s permanently.
Yeah, when I was there, I'm just being from Texas. Your Colorado 90 does not feel like Texas 90. Just throwing that out there.
But it's a dry heat in Texas, like an oven.
Yes, it's very much like an oven. What's going on, Kate and Tony? You were kind of gone as we were doing our introductions today. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm great today. Hey, but I do see, I might have missed this. You might have already done this. The sheet's all blacked out. I can't see anything.
Yes, that's because we like the mystique and intrigue.
I hate the mystique. Now I don't know what I did.
All right. Well, as Tony mentioned it, I just had it up, but I took it down here for a minute. So we've got our rankings up here. Tony's joining us for the more important receiver rankings part. And while Tony had actually just walked off camera, and Dennis mentioned this off air, we'll start with Tony because he feels like Dennis feels like your ranking of Keenan Allen is very disrespectful. So you've got him
disrespect.
Oh no.
And Brown at 23. So kick it off. What do you got going on?
Why do you hate Tyrod Taylor so much? You must hate Tyrod Taylor. You must hate Tyrod Taylor and Justin Herbert if you have Keenan Allen at 24.
That's the problem. The problem for me is quarterback play with Keenan Allen. The talent's there and it's undeniable. I worry about his speed. I worry that he's not quite fast enough to overcome some of those things. And then when you add in the mobile quarterback, I expect Tyrod Taylor to be the starter for at least most of the season. He's going to have to lose the job. The situation is just not one where I'm essentially, I ranked Keenan Allen in a way I would have ranked him down farther, to be honest with you. There are other guys in my own personal draft that I would take above Keenan Allen, but I didn't want to completely disrespect him and not even mention his name on the show. Excuse me. But I'm very, 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 very worried about the quarterback situation there. I'm afraid he won't be able to have the target volume that he needs and to be able to take over a game the way he used to be able to. The two together concern me.
So you think his target volume is going to be lower than A.J. Brown's?
I think that there's a chance. I don't know that that's necessarily. That's the other. That's why I have A.J. Brown right there too. Is because I really think we're talking about a similar player.
Does your boss know you're day drinking?
No, I'm off today. I don't work today, by the way. No, come on. I think
so. This is your day to do day drinking. Is what you're trying to tell us.
No, come on. What's wrong with this? Somebody tell me what's wrong with it.
With day drinking or your Keenan Allen ranking?
You can tell me about both. I'll listen to both.
He's the best receiver in football. Did you not miss his tweets?
Oh, I saw the tweets. Yeah, I saw the tweets. I just don't. By the way, I don't think he's the best receiver in football. I hope he's not.
I want to discuss that when we're done here, but I'll let Dennis. You want to go? For me, Keenan, he's just the best route runner in the business, in my opinion. I understand Tyrod Taylor sucks, but I mean, Phillip Rivers wasn't exactly great last year either, and Keenan still put up numbers. I mean, Jarvis Landry and Antonio Callaway had decent weeks. Those first couple weeks when Tyrod was in Cleveland, I love Landry. I would say Keenan Allen's a better wide receiver than him. And Justin Herbert, again, absolute stud, future NFL Hall of Famer, MVP, Super Bowl winner. He's going to get Keenan Allen the ball, and Keenan Allen's going to score.
The reason Matt get the tramp stamp.
Matt, you've given him a Super Bowl already? He hasn't taken a snap.
We need to get this bet revised. Maybe Matt can get a Tyrod Taylor tramp stamp instead. Tyrod Taylor in a Browns helmet.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be good.
All right, Matt.
In fairness to you, Tony, I don't have Keenan that much higher than you. I was just messing with you.
Yeah, let's see it. Where is it at? Hey, get that black box out of
No,
here.
hey,
We'll see if it it up.
I'm going to unblack it, and he's going to all be at like 20 for all of us. And we're all
and you guys can just suffer.
All right, Fox, go ahead. Give us your two.
Okay, so 24, I have T.Y. Hilton. I think he's going to be the best receiver in a better passing offense for the Colts. So I'm there kind of the end of the wide receiver 2 tier. And then Tyler Lockett last week when we were looking at our wide receiver 3s and wide receiver 4s. By the way, they take umbrage with this is the more important receivers. Wide receiver 3 lives matter. So I had DK Metcalf, kind of right down there. He and Lockett, I think, for both of us, for all of us, is kind of, it depends on your position to have them relatively close. I think Lockett will still end up being the top for Seattle, so I have him just at the bottom here of the wide receiver 2 tier, a little bit higher than where I had Metcalf.
I came in with Jarvis Landry at 24 and Terry McLaurin at 23. And these were tough rankings for me. I think Jarvis is going to get plenty of volume, and he's going to do what he always does. He's going to catch short passes. In leagues where you get points for first downs like Scott Fishbowl, I think that jacks up Jarvis Landry's value even more. But I feel like he's going to be around 100 catches and 1,000 yards, 1,050 yards, and a few touchdowns. Terry McLaurin, I love him. I love the game. I love the way he's playing the game. But I do have some concern that I would have thought the chemistry between him and Haskins would have been better. And now we bring in a new offensive coordinator, a new head coach. I think it's going to be just fine, but I think that Rivera is also, and Scott Turner, I guess, more so than Rivera. They're going to try to balance it out a little bit more. It did hurt them losing Kelvin Harmon, so they don't have that other big body on the outside unless AGG steps up. We're sort of it's a lot of it to me comes down with I was insecure about McLaurin's volume, and that's sort of what pushed him down be under a few guys.
I don't understand why you're disrespecting Jarvis Landry like this.
Yeah, neither do I.
It's tough.
Dennis, it's not that tough. You, by your own acknowledgement, 1,000+ yards, 6 touchdowns. That's what you just said. And the dude was wide receiver 12 in PPR last year. What are you talking about, man? What's changing?
Odell.
Healthy Odell.
Okay.
A full season with Kareem Hunt, who we've seen is destroying any passing game value that Nick Chubb had. I think the two of them are going to impact some. I don't necessarily think Hooper's going to be any threat, but I do think.
You mean tight end 1, Austin Hooper?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, that guy.
Tight end 1.
One
pierogi seller, Austin Hooper.
All right, so I have to give a what's the word I'm looking for here? Help me out. My mind just went blank. My eye is driving me crazy. I just got something stuck in it. Now I can't think straight. Not an outlier, whatever. So my number 24 was supposed to be Michael Gallup, but as you guys know, if you listened last week, I completely forgot to put Amari Cooper on my list. So I had to move everybody down. So T.Y. Hilton, who was 23, is now 24. Gallup's going to have a phenomenal year. T.Y. Hilton, I'm with Fox on what he was saying about Hilton. He's still going to be a really good wide receiver. I think Phillip Rivers scares me a little bit. Hilton's injury history scares me a little bit. And then I do think Pittman comes in as one of the more NFL ready wide receivers already. So I do think him and Campbell, who I'm hoping takes a step forward as well. But still, a top 24 finish for a guy like T.Y. Hilton is not that bad. And then I had Tyler Lockett down lower than DK Metcalf. For those of you, again, who listened last week, know I'm higher on Metcalf than I am Lockett. I think we saw what Metcalf could be in a limited amount last year, and I think that's going to happen even more with Russell Wilson going deep down the field to him. I still like Lockett a lot, but I'm definitely higher on Metcalf than I am Lockett. I just think he's going to be he's in for a really good year, and I just clicked on the wrong button. All right, so let's see if this works correctly. There we go. All right, so I'll go next. We'll just keep going back and forth here. So I've got Robert Woods and Stephon Diggs. So just like Dennis is disrespecting Jarvis Landry and Tony is disrespecting Keenan Allen, I am disrespecting Robert Woods. Dude always finishes as like a high-end wide receiver too. I've got him down here at 22. He's probably going to finish much better than this. I couldn't move him up higher than some of these other guys. And Stephon Diggs, even though he's going to be the one in Buffalo, it's just Allen. Allen worries me, and him throwing the ball, his accuracy down the field. And then obviously once they get down into the red zone, I don't think that they're going to throw the ball much. I think it's going to go to either Zach Moss, Singletary, Josh Allen, and then Stephon Diggs. So that's kind of the order I see it. So I think he's going to have to get those big play touchdowns to be, I guess, to get his touchdown points. So for me, that's why Diggs falls down here at 21. Man, Dennis just disrespecting everybody. Why do you got DJ Chark so low, buddy?
Oh crap! I forgot about DJ Chark. Sorry, Dennis.
Oh my God, DJ
Oh
Chark.
no!
Listen,
I didn't forget about him. I just did him last week where he belongs in the wide receiver threes.
Let's see. I can't see anymore because you blocked it all off with this stupid black box. So maybe I didn't forget about him, but I think I did.
I'm sure they're all going to comment in here in a minute and be like, "Oh, we like it. It's mystery and intrigue." That's what I'm all about.
I like Chark's potential. He did have a breakout. I'm not sure I'm sold on Minshew long term. He could be a middling quarterback too. He could have it and outperform his stock, or he could just blow up completely. But I do think that Jacksonville they're going to run Fournette a lot. They're going to try to protect Minshew because I'm not sure even they know what they have. I think they felt like, we've looked at Nick Foles over the course of 7 or 8 seasons, and we thought we'd take a shot to see if really what he needed was a shot, and apparently that's not it. So they moved on from Foles. But I also, who led the wide receivers in snaps last year in Jacksonville?
Chris Conley.
So historically, wide receivers changing teams struggle that first year with a new team. This was Conley's first year. Last year was Conley's first season in Jacksonville. So I feel like there's going to be more of a balance. I do think that Chark is going to outscore Conley. So, up there in the black box, you're not going to find Chris Conley. I don't think. Let me double check.
No, he's up there.
You can see behind the black box?
No, I have my own copy of him for myself.
Oh, okay.
I don't have yours, but I have mine.
Okay.
So I can prepare myself.
Chris Conley is up under that black box, I think we're going to get a lot of viewer comments.
He's not. But I like Chark. I just don't know that I can put him any higher than that. Lockett is still the guy. He's still the number one in Seattle. Russell Wilson. I feel like DK Metcalf is. I had to double check and make sure I didn't have Metcalf higher. But Lockett is still the guy. Lockett. He had almost him and Metcalf were pretty evenly split on end zone targets and end zone routes. Lockett's going to get the volume. Metcalf is going to get the big plays. So, while I see, 100 catches for Lockett, 65 catches for Metcalf. They may be pretty close in yardage because of Metcalf's big play ability. And then the touchdowns are it's going to be what happens in the end zone. Well, we've already seen Russ trust Lockett in the end zone. It's going to be a situation to monitor. I will say I was wrong on my assessment of DK Metcalf last year. Do I think he's not Julio Jones, but he's better than I thought he was.
Yeah, that's true for all of us, I think. I think that's true for everybody.
Okay, so my 22, I have A.J. Brown. I really like Brown. I think he had a great season last year. It's just low volume passing offense. He had quite good efficiency, which kind of helped him pop last year. I just don't think Tennessee is a high volume throwing offense. They'll probably get Johnny Smith involved. They drafted Darrington Evans. Could be passing more to backs out of the backfield. So I like AJ Brown, but that's where it felt, kind of lower end wide receiver 2 felt safe. Amari Cooper, I think on this panel, I'm the one that has the biggest man crush on Amari Cooper. But apparently I don't have him the highest in the rankings, which is going to be quite a reversal for the other Matt. But they still have Ezekiel Elliott. They have so many good receivers there in Dallas. I think they all eat into each other a little bit, which is why I drop him down to a little bit of a lower wide receiver 2.
I think it's pretty unfair that you guys gave me so much shit about AJ Brown, and you've only got him one spot higher, by the way.
No,
yeah, I'm gonna keep
Keenan Allen is the one that we gave you.
But no, and Matt had to bring up Brown too. No, Matt, come on.
I got no problems with Brown.
No, I know you were dogging me for my problems with Brown.
No, that was just Keenan Allen. I don't care where you put AJ Brown.
You made sure to throw Brown in there too. I got double whammied on that first go.
But you think you got double whammied? Then wait till you do your 22 because. That's
no. Yeah, you guys are going to hate 22.
Hell, DJ Moore. Wow. All right, go ahead. Tell us why you have DJ Moore not in your top 10.
This might be a short appearance for Tony, who gets bounced after this round.
I know. I understand what I'm doing here, and I've thought long and hard about this. To be honest with you, DJ Moore is one of the reasons why my Dynasty Nerds rankings aren't up all the way. Like, he's one of the actual reasons why I haven't been able to finalize this whole situation. I'm very uncomfortable with teams that have completely new situations in 2020. New coach. They've got a new offensive coordinator. Is that correct too?
Yes.
I mean, everything about that team is so new.
They got the LSU offensive coordinator.
I understand. And
ever, but
And my argument for ranking DJ Moore as high as 22 is the same as I ranked Keenan Allen as high as 24, is because the talent is so legitimate and it's so threatening that I can't just pass on the guy. I can't just pretend that this is not going to work. But I am very, very legitimately concerned that these teams that haven't had a lot of time together throughout a normal offseason program, they're going to be figuring this thing out on the fly, guys. And I don't know. Teddy Bridgewater did fantastic things for 5 games. I was 5-0 as a starter. We all know that stuff. He made Michael Thomas look like the same Michael Thomas as Drew Brees. I understand. And I'm just concerned because everything about this situation is new, and there hasn't been enough time to really get out there and get out there and just do it. I feel like the Panthers are at a disadvantage. I feel like the Panthers are a team that could very easily struggle on both offense and defense. I mean, with the retirement of Luke Kuechly, I mean, they have not rebounded from that yet. So they're a team that's going to have to be focused on moving the ball down the field to score points, but at the same time, they haven't had the time that they need together to be efficient at it. So it's one of those situations where I believe in the talent, but I want to see it before I start advocating to take him over some of these other guys that I've got in that stupid black box up there.
I mean, I just, Teddy Bridgewater, DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, CMC, they're going to be phenomenal this year. I just think you're dead wrong. I agree with you that it's going to be tough. Obviously, we've talked about it a lot with the rookies too. The no offseason is going to be weird. I think the Panthers are, in all honesty, kind of in the worst spot of everybody because they've come in not just with a new head coach, new offensive coordinator. You just mentioned they lost the captain on their defense, new quarterback as well. Of these other
that's it for me. That's it. It's the worst possible situation in football. And to be honest, the Washington football team, I'd ranked Dwayne Haskins my least favorite quarterback. If I could do that again, I'd put Teddy Bridgewater below Dwayne Haskins. And the only reason is because this situation is so extreme. They have literally every change possible happening right now, and there's no time for them to communicate.
Look, if we've learned anything from last year of Matt and I in our commiseration. It's okay to be wrong on this podcast.
Oh, thanks. Thanks,
It
Foss.
happens quite often, more often than I think any of us would like, unfortunately. That's what I've learned.
I'm just here to balance it out.
I'm just
Exactly.
glad you're willing to be wrong.
Trust me, I gave up trying to be right a long time ago, as it didn't work out for me. All right, so next up for Tony, you've got Devontae Parker and Tyler Lockett.
Devontae Parker is actually the opposite of my DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. I wanted to rank him higher. I want to rank Devontae Parker as a top 12 wide receiver. When he was drafted in the first round, that's what we all thought he was. And we just waited and we waited. And was it 4 or 5 or 6 years? I mean, how long have we waited on Devontae Parker? And it finally happened. We finally got it at the end of last year.
Yeah, once their wide receiver one got injured.
Well, league winner, though. I mean, Bennett, league winner. That's what we're talking about here. And that's funny. That's cute and all about how his wide receiver one got injured. But come on. Where do you even have Devontae Parker in your black box, or did you just completely disrespect him? Is he up
They
there?
all had him in wide receiver 3 territory where he belongs.
Oh, yeah. Not me. Not me. I'm putting him there. And the reason that I didn't rank him higher is I'm going back to uncertainty. I don't know what's going on with Tua. I don't know what's going on with Fitzpatrick. I think both of these guys are going to start at some point in the season. Everybody's going to have a shot there. And I don't know how that's going to play out for Parker. If 2020 is like the last half of 2019, Devontae Parker's a top 12 guy, guys. I mean, that's just what he is. That's what he did. That's what he was doing. And he's getting fed the targets to sustain it. It wasn't some freak accident. I mean, he was a focal point. If that happens. Now, if it doesn't happen, then he's the wide
if
receiver
2020 is like the first half of 19 or all of 18 or all of 17 or all of 16.
Okay. I'm looking forward, Dennis. You keep trying to make me look backwards. I'm trying to look forward here. I like Devontae Parker. If I had him as my wide receiver too, I would be okay with that. In a normal year, I would put him below DJ Moore. I'd put him probably below Keenan Allen too. I'd have Keenan Allen in that higher. I'd have him up there. I'd have him higher than all of you guys probably. But given everything that's going on, Devontae Parker's situation right now is more consistent than some of those other guys. And the only question is, will it remain consistent? And for me, consistency is king. That's all. So, and Lockett's, go ahead.
Consistency for half a year, though. Consistency for half a year.
And I mean consistency in the situation. I don't mean game.
Okay.
I just mean when I'm turning over to a brand new year, I want to look back and say, okay, what has changed? What has changed since we last snapped the football? If nothing's changed, then I'm going to move forward, assuming that we're going to continue that production. Not a lot has changed with Devontae Parker. Moving on to Lockett at 20, he's another player that I wanted to rank higher. There were other guys I had to put above him. Matt, Dennis, I'm sorry, you had mentioned this, that he's going to get 100 targets. I'll take 100 targets. I mean, for 100 targets, that's another wide receiver 2 with a solid floor. I want to rank him higher, but I think these other guys will outscore him. He's a player that I would rather have than some of these guys inside of my black box. But at the same time, I do think those other players will outscore him. I like the volume. I like the consistency. I like the trust in the end zone. That's what you said, Dennis. I think he's got a real opportunity to bring in major touchdowns too, and that will raise him higher than the other wide receivers. For me, Lockett gets put here because of his floor. I think his floor is very high, especially in a PPR league, and I don't feel one bit bad about it. You can say what you want. By the way, Dennis, you got A.J. Brown ranked at 19, and he's going to catch like 15 balls this year.
Yeah, but they're all going to be 80-yard touchdowns.
80-yard touchdowns.
I like how so far we've been on the air for like 25 minutes and we've mentioned the term black box more than an FAA inquest. But
that's true.
I'm not going to stop.
So, going on to my number 20, I had Terry McLaurin. If we've gone through, I'm not big on Haskins as a passer or Washington in general. But when I went and looked at the splits, McLaurin was one of the few receivers that actually did well with Haskins in there. His targets, his receptions, his production was pretty good. He's one of the few bright spots for Washington. I think he's just going to continue to thrive. So having him right there on the cusp of top 20 made sense to me. OBJ at 19, obviously his first season with the Browns didn't go as many of us had hoped or thought it might. But I still like the talent. I still think he's the best wide receiver on their team. And I think in year 2, he will get more chemistry with Baker, maybe get better opportunities and So I like him there at least right in the middle of wide receiver 2. He could have even higher upside, but that's where I felt comfortable putting him.
I'm a huge Keenan Allen fan. I get that.
4 spots higher.
Yeah. But
and of course, poor Tony had to black himself out for this part.
He just, he's a great route runner. I get that he's not fast. Jerry Rice wasn't fast. Not that I'm comparing Keenan directly to Jerry Rice, but it's just a situation where he's the number one. Mike Williams is the deep threat. Williams is great at that. But Keenan is going to get the volume in that offense over anybody else. I feel like he's going to be able to produce. He's probably too low at 20, but as when I was putting them together, I'm just kind of I'm trying to justify and moving people up and down, and it gets difficult when you get into the top 24. At 19, I got AJ Brown. He's the unquestioned number one. I don't think we're going to see a Devontae Parker and renaissance out of Corey Davis as much as I would like. Actually, I just drafted Corey Davis in like the 18th round.
Corey Davis is already on the pup list, I believe.
Oh yeah, I drafted him in the 18th round of a redraft I'm doing, and so it's. I hope he breaks out. That would be awesome. Even if he does just a half a year like Devontae Parker did, that would still be fantastic for that team.
I heard that,
especially drafting him in the 18th round. But he's the unquestioned number one there. He's going to get the volume. I kind of believe Tannehill's going to be really good this year. So that's why Brown got up there to 19 for me.
Yeah. I switched to the backward hat look, by the way. Does the backwards hat look okay?
Yeah, looks good. Looks good.
I don't know if I like it.
Mark from the 80s is a fan. So.
Yeah.
I'm going back to frontward hat.
So Keenan Allen, 20, AJ Brown, 19. All right. So for me, I got Jarvis Landry here, 20. I wanted to move him higher, but something Dennis just mentioned, I feel like is going to be something we'll all be saying here. A lot of these guys here, it was so hard to separate some of them. And for my biggest things we talked about when Dennis brought up his ranking of Landry, I do think a healthy Odell is actually going to hurt Jarvis quite a bit here. Now, I'm not as worried about Hunt, but I do know the way they're going to run the ball, the way they use the 2 tight end sets, I do think they'll go to Odell a lot. I don't know if Hooper gets a lot of volume, whether it's Njoku if he stays or possibly even Harrison, the rookie. He'll get some work too. So I think all that is going to kind of bring Jarvis down to he's still going to get catches, still think he's going to get yards, but I think his touchdowns is where it's going to lack. I don't know if he's going to get as many touchdowns as he has. This next one really did hurt my heart. I purposely did not want to rank this guy because, as I've mentioned many times, he's got brick hands. I just don't think he's that good. I'm glad I don't think I'm the highest on him, so at least I have that. I am a little surprised I'm higher than Matt, though only by 2 spots. But Amari Cooper, we saw last year the Cowboys moved to a more pass-friendly offense. I think that's going to continue. While they'll definitely lean on Zeke some, I think Dak is going to want to continue to prove that he can help the Cowboys win, I guess, and sign the franchise tag. I think he wants that big money contract, so they're going to rely on that. And Cooper is still the one. He's always been a phenomenal route runner. I've never had any questions about his route running skills. He just tends to drop the ball a little bit more than I'd like. But he did finish top 12 last year. I think having Gallup and CeeDee Lamb there are definitely going to drop him just a little bit. So for me, I've got Keenan Allen.
Dude, you're going to get a tattoo.
I really thought I had him higher. This black box thing, I kind of understand it now, Tony. I may not have said anything.
Horrible.
All right, so Keenan Allen at 18. No, it really is some of what Tony mentioned earlier with Tyrod. I do think that they're going to rely on Eckler a lot. You've got possibly Hunter Henry going to be healthy this year. Mike Williams is going to be healthy this year. I really think that is going to kind of bring these guys all back just a little bit. I could easily see Keenan Allen shooting up into the top 12, though. That's where he's kind of lived every year. He's been healthy. Wouldn't be surprised. I posted a tweet in our group chat the other day of Anthony Lynn coming out and kind of finally admitting that maybe Tyrod will be their starter. I honestly think if Herbert starts, Keenan Allen is going to be a lot better than people are giving him credit for. I know a lot of people don't like Herbert as much as I do, and maybe I am looking at this through my Oregon Duck glasses here, but I think Herbert's going to do great things for Allen. And then DJ Chark here at 17. I wanted him higher. I really don't have as many questions about Minshew, but I do think this being the second year, new offense now because what's his name was there last year. I'm pretty sure he's gone now. You've got Gruden coming in if he even stays there with all of the stuff going on in Washington. They may let him go. So new offense. Do think that they're going to try and lean on Fournette a ton this year. Don't think the team is going to be necessarily good. I think they're in the kind of Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes right now with the New England Patriots and all their opt-outs. So I think all that will bring down Chark's touchdowns, which is I think why his fantasy points will drop. Still think he gets a ton of catches and yards, but he had a ridiculous amount of touchdowns last year. I think that drops down some because I don't think they're going to score as much as they did. Go ahead, Dennis.
Calvin Ridley, he's playing in the most pass-heavy offense in the NFL. He's the clear number 2 to Julio, but he's going to get, probably, so the wide receiver 24 last year had 110 targets and 67 receptions. Ridley was a little more efficient, so I'm not going to be surprised at all with Sanu gone, not taking snaps from him. I don't think Russell Gage is a threat. So I think you're looking at 120, 125 targets for Ridley, 75, 80 catches. I think Ridley's going to have a really good season. That offense is just prolific. Probably the biggest downside I could see is he could be impacted in the end zone because Todd Gurley just scores 100 touchdowns a year. It seems like that's what he does. Now that his knees are banged up, he doesn't get the yardage he used to, but he still gets the touchdowns. And then Cooper Kupp, with Brandon Cooks being shipped off to Houston, it's really Kupp and Woods. And those two guys are going to get a lot of targets. They're going to run more 12 personnel, I think, with Gerald Everett and Tyler Higbee. And then they're going to do running back by committee. So Kupp and Woods are both going to get a pretty high volume of targets. I like Kupp a lot. It wouldn't surprise me, honestly, if he finished 6 or 7 or 8 spots higher.
Yeah, so obviously Dennis and I are eerily similar in our slots here. I also have Ridley at 18. I like his potential. I think they're a high-volume passing offense. I think he's just going to build on what he did last year. And I also have a Rams receiver at 17. I have Woods instead of Kupp. I have Kupp as the higher one. Both of them were really close in targets last year. Obviously, with Cooks getting shipped to Houston, that clears it out, makes it pretty clear that those two are going to be the primary receivers. I like Woods. He's probably chronically underrated in drafts and in everything. I think he's going to be solid again this year.
I think he's underrated in your rankings too, by the way.
Well, you would know about underrating receivers in the rankings, so I'll take your word for it.
Fine. Amari Cooper, I'll echo everything that Matt said about Amari Cooper. We have him ranked almost identical. And Amari Cooper is a player that going into 2019, I would have said his potential top 5 guy. And now here we are, and I'm a little bit anxious about the addition of CeeDee Lamb. I think that Cooper still has real value, but I'll echo everything that Matt said, and I'll just leave it there at that. With Calvin Ridley, what's interesting is here's the first player, if we're going from the bottom to the top, here's the first player that I would rather have over his counterpart on the same team that I have ranked much higher. And we'll talk about Julio Jones later, but with Calvin Ridley, I just drafted Julio Jones in the second round. So I'm talking about Calvin Ridley. I'm sorry to make this so confusing, but I just drafted Julio Jones in the second round of a startup draft, the Aaron Sopchak, the Hunger.
So clearly you wouldn't rather have Ridley, or you would have waited.
Here's my regret. My regret is I looked at. No, you're exactly right. At the 205,
he's just afraid to mention anything now. We're all
Calvin Ridley didn't go till the 6th round. In the 5th round, I was looking at Calvin Ridley thinking, holy crap, I've got a bona fide wide receiver 2 with upside here. A guaranteed, locked in, top 24 guy. No doubt in my mind about it. And I couldn't take it. I mean, I just couldn't do it.
So your argument is basically that you would rather have Ridley relative to his value
That's correct.
Thinking that Ridley's going to have a better season than Julio Jones.
I don't think that Ridley will have a better season than Julio Jones, but at the value, this is the first player, if we're going from top to bottom, this is the first player that I would rather have at a lower ranking than his counterpart, which I ranked higher. So I'm sure I'll let you guys talk more about Ridley. I love him. I mean, I absolutely love Calvin Ridley. I love the talent. I love the opportunity. It is the highest. I think this is going to be, we talked about the Rams at one point being high pace, and now it's Kansas City being real high paced offense. And this year it's going to be Atlanta. They're going to be the team that just throws the shit out of the football because that's what they have to do to keep up with the Saints and to keep up with Tampa Bay. That's what's going to have to happen. So for that reason, I love Ridley. I wish I could put him up higher, but unfortunately, Landry is another one of those guys. And this is the first time on my ranking sheet where the change is actually a good thing. I keep talking about consistency and I keep preaching how I don't want things to change. But with Jarvis Landry, I think the change happened in the right direction with Stefanski. Stefanski, correct? Am I missing something?
No, Stefanski.
Yeah. Okay. I was a little bit worried it was Kubiak there, and I just had him crossed in my head. With Stefanski,
they're the same person.
I just look back at, I just look at what he's done in the past and the plays that he's run in the past for years and years and years. Diggs and Thielen have been reliable, two reliable fantasy options week in and week out, with one guy being possession, one guy being big play. Landry has proven for, it feels like a decade, he's the best possession guy in the league. I mean, get him the football and he's going to catch it. He's going to get you 5 or 10 yards every single time. For that reason, I have Landry ranked high, and I wanted Beckham and Landry be the first 1-2, the first pair of top 12 wide receivers. I couldn't quite do it. I couldn't quite justify it, but I love the floor of Landry. Mike Evans. When's the last time Tom Brady had a deep threat like Mike Evans? Randy Moss?
Well, I would say Godwin's
Probably
more a deep threat than Evans.
I don't know that I would. I guess that's a different debate. I would say that Evans is the deeper guy, and that Godwin's would be
Evans about
the possession player, but
on crutches. What are you talking about? A deep threat.
Come on, are you kidding me?
No, I'm not. Can I?
I want to pull. I don't have enough information in front of me to do that. Here, I'm going to look it up right now. Evans is a stretcher, buddy. What are you talking about?
Stretcher?
He might end up on a stretcher, but.
Oh my God, you guys!
Am I wrong here? I could be wrong. Is Evans really that much of a deep threat? I feel like he's
Evans is more of a deep threat than Godwin. If you're making that argument,
that's my argument.
I'm going with Tony.
Elite talent, yards per target 12. I'm looking at per game here: 12, 16, 11, 13, 30. Wow, that's a big game. Oh, that was only 2 targets.
Yardage deep's like 20 yards.
Oh my God!
Add like 8 yards on there.
Now I'm looking at Godwin. Now you got me all worked up here.
Tony's regretting that he agreed to come on this, this episode.
By the way,
yeah,
you guys on for the 3 months in a row.
Well, I'm telling you right now.
No,
I'm just looking at sleeper stats right here. Evans is the deep target compared to Godwin. When they're both on the field, Evans is getting the ball deeper than Godwin, and by multiple yards. So I'm cool with that. And if we want to disagree with it, I'm fine with that too. Evans and Godwin are interesting because I want to rank both of them real high. We talked about it before the show. I don't think there's ever been a point in Brady's career where he supported 2 wide receiver ones. We talked about tight ends. We talked about running back. One of these wide receivers is going to blow up. I don't know which one it is. So for now, I'm putting Evans at a top end wide receiver 2, and I'm just hoping for the best.
No.
Okay.
Not like Amari Cooper. Sorry, Matt. No. That was just because I felt obligated to put him on there. Go ahead, Fox.
It might end up. Tony bailed you out because he's at least a little higher on Amari Cooper. I was hoping you'd end up being the highest because that would be irony. That's been our entire rankings thing. We seem to all exchange being higher on the players that we don't like.
He might have been willing to come on the show had I been the highest on there. Finally, we could settle our differences. But go ahead, Fox.
So then at 16, I have Julian Edelman. He was a top 10 receiver last year. Obviously, their offense is not going to be quite the same. I think he's still clearly going to be their best receiver. I don't think Cam Newton's terrible. So I have him here in the middle of the wide receiver 2-pack. He'll probably end up being higher, and I'll feel sad about it. Nobody's going to draft him very high, as we saw. I think his ADP has him as like wide receiver 40, which is ridiculous.
That's ADP though. So
it's what?
That when we did our Dynasty ADP, that was the problem.
And then I have the man, the myth, the legend, Keenan Allen. I feel like I dislike Keenan Allen more than the rest of you, and so I'm very shameful that he ended up being highest in my rankings. I have him at 15. I guess I trust Tyrod Taylor and Justin Herbert more than anyone else. I felt like I put Keenan Allen lower than everyone else, but apparently I thought wrong.
You know, I still believe in Amari Cooper. In part, you know, the Cowboys threw the ball 596 times last season. I think that Cooper, Gallup, and Lamb are all in for 100-plus targets. There's plenty of targets to go around in that offense, and Cooper's still going to get his. He's a great route runner. He's a good enough catcher of the ball. You know, he's if you want to, I think I saw. It seems like I should have noted it when I saw it, but I think I read something that Gallup actually had more drops than Cooper last year. So maybe I'm wrong there.
I think he was less efficient with his targets.
Yeah,
they both had over 100 targets, but he only had 66 receptions.
So they're going to throw. They're going to do what they.
Did you see the balls that Dak threw to Gallup? That's the problem. They were horrible. You know, almost uncatchable. But go ahead. Sorry, continue.
Well, you make the best. You make the best out of what you got to work with. So Cooper's going to get his 100-plus targets. He's going to get 65, 70 receptions, and he's going to have another 1,000-yard season. I just that's my belief. I think that it wouldn't surprise me that if Dallas is the most productive offense from a point scoring perspective, with Zeke and those three wide receivers and Dak trying to show maybe he shouldn't make more money than Mahomes, but he should be in the neighborhood. I think they're going out there and that's what they're looking at this year in Dallas. I love Cortland Sutton and I wanted to put him higher, but man, it was just so hard when I looked at the guys I have above him. And part of it is I'm just not fully committed to Drew Lock. If I had more belief in Lock, I'd probably have Sutton higher. Sutton's the clear number one. Judy is going to be the two. They've got Hamler to work out of the slot. Couple other guys whose name Matt will have to say if he thinks they're worthy. It's clearly Sutton is the alpha in Denver. It's him and Fant. And if I had more belief in Locke, not a lot more, just I like Locke. I've been drafting him. So I have a good amount of belief. I just needed to feel more to be able to move Sutton up over some of the guys that I have in front of him.
As Darth Vader said, I find your lack of faith disturbing.
You get that from me, but at least you know it.
All right, so for me at 16, I've got Cooper Kupp. I have him as my highest rated Rams wide receiver. I think he's just going to continue to do good things with that. It's more Goff than anything else that I don't trust in that offense. I do think having Cam Akers, Darrell Henderson, I think they're going to try and run the ball a little bit more. We saw the emergence of Tyler Higbee at the end of the year as well. I think all that kind of contributes to Kupp, not necessarily – he's going to be the one. It was just I like a lot of the guys ahead of him more, so I've got him here at 16. For 15, for me, I've got Terry McLaurin. I do not have as much unwavering faith in Dwayne Haskins as apparently most of the other people on this podcast. Dwayne Haskins got snubbed for a Heisman in college. He played for a coach who clearly disrespected him, is partially probably kind of an idiot that wanted to play. I don't even remember who the quarterback was over him, but it was a stupid choice. What about Purdue? I'm
just thinking about that one time that Purdue blew Dwayne Haskins out. That one time. It takes one time. It just takes one time. Just one time. You can live with it. You can keep it forever. It just has to happen.
Hey,
it has to happen one
what
time.
Happened to Tony? He disappeared. Oh no! No, I love Rondale Moore. He was a baller in that game. I'll give Rondale Moore all the love for that too. He was ridiculous. But anyways, I think Haskins is going to take a step forward this year. Again, clearly, I think we could all admit that they did not want anything to do with Haskins. It was definitely a Snyder-driven pick, it seemed like, when they drafted him. But just because Jay Gruden didn't want to play him doesn't mean that he's a bad player. You know, if you actually look at Pro Football Focus stats, he was actually, I believe, one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the back half of the season with the things he did. I'm not saying he's a top 5 quarterback in the league, but he improved throughout the year. He's a pocket passer behind a horrible offensive line, which unfortunately didn't get much better with them trading Trent Williams. But regardless, he's got better weapons around him now. If guys can stay healthy, they'll have a little bit of a running game to help him out. And Terry McLaurin proved last year he could be a stud with bad quarterback play. And I think Haskins going to be a little bit of a step up compared to what he had last year. I got DJ Moore here at 14. I'll just echo some of the stuff Tony said earlier because I do agree with him. All of the changes coming in Carolina is going to hurt him some. He was a top 14 guy last year. But as I've mentioned many a times here, and I'm going to continue to say it, I think Curtis Samuel actually takes a step forward this year. I'm not as big on Robbie Anderson as some of the other people are on him being the deep threat. I just don't think Teddy Bridgewater throws the ball deep that much. I think it's going to be Moore and Samuel getting a ton of the targets. I've actually kind of soured on Ian Thomas a little bit more as well and pivoted all my love to DJ Moore and Samuel. Moore is a guy who can score a touchdown every time he touches the ball. I think he's going to get his fair amount of touchdown and catches with some yards. So I got him here at 14. And then 13 for me, Mike Evans. Everybody who's listened to this now for the past couple of years knows not the biggest Mike Evans supporter in the world here, but he just continues to produce every single year. I do think, and I've mentioned it before on the Buccaneers preview, and I'm sure other times, I do think Evans and Godwin both take a little bit of a hit this year not having Jameis. Everybody keeps accounting for having Brady. Brady is not going to throw the ball 5,000 times that Jameis Winston did because he turned the ball over and he was not afraid to throw it. Tom Brady doesn't always make the risque throws that Jameis Winston made. And yes, while they were probably stupid throws that he made, Evans and Godwin still came down with the ball at times. So I think their targets are going to come down a little bit more, and I think that's going to hurt them a little bit. And I do think when they get down in the red zone, that's when they're going to employ the Gronkowski's, O.J. Howard, maybe run the ball like they did in New England, which is also going to hurt Evans' touchdown value a little bit as well. Still right there on the verge of a wide receiver 1 for me, but I think he is going to lose a little bit this year, having Brady being there as his quarterback.
So I was talking about when I was talking about Cooper Kupp, I've got Kupp and Woods here pretty close, 14 and 17. Do you know who threw the second most passes in the NFL last year?
I'm going to guess the Rams.
Jared Goff.
There we go.
Jared Goff. Okay.
So he's that offense is what it is. Given that they got rid of Todd Gurley, and they have a rookie and a second-year man and a journeyman in the running back room, I don't get a strong feeling they're going to run the ball more unless Cam Akers or Darrell Henderson come out of the gate smoking hot, looking like they did in college or something. But I with no training camp to speak of, I'm not really sold on that happening. So the Rams are going to do what they do. I think they're going to run a lot more 12 personnel. It's going to be Woods and Kupp, Higbee and Everett, and whichever running back they feel like should be in there that can protect the quarterback. I think Goff will throw the ball 600 times again, and Woods and Kupp are going to be up there in the 120 range for targets. I feel like Woods gets a little more out of his targets than Kupp. We'll see what happens. I like Robert Woods a lot. I think that he can drafting either one of them at their prices of value, I think. And then I have OBJ at 13. It was probably one of the hardest because I feel like, and I'm succumbing to the name value of OBJ when I say he just feels like he should be ranked as an RB1, but between
maybe a wide receiver.
Yeah, that too. But between his health issues and some of the dramatics that he brings to the sideline in the locker room, I feel like there's opportunity. There's definitely opportunity for him to have a high wide receiver one season. But I feel like with Stefanski, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, they may run the ball a little bit more than we'd like to see, even though Baker's a pretty good passer and they've got weapons like OBJ and Jarvis Landry. So I like Beckham. I think he's going to have a really good year, but I have him at 13.
So for my 14, I have Mike Evans. I think he's still going to have a really good year, but I have him and Godwin both sliding back a few spots from where they were, where they finished last year. I think that makes sense. They may be a little bit more successful team. I think we forget that the Buccaneers had to throw a lot because they were behind a lot and they were not an incredibly successful team on the field. If they're a better team on the field, that may also cut down on some of that throwing. And then I have Kupp. We talked about it before. That Woods and Kupp, I have them close, but I have Kupp a little higher. He was wide receiver 4 last year, so this is coming back just a little bit. But I feel like the fact that all of us are buying into Kupp and Woods means we're about to have the 100-target Josh Reynolds season that nobody saw coming.
Which I have plenty of Josh Reynolds, by the way, just in case.
See, you're hedging. That's a wise move there.
I love Josh Reynolds, but the situation got muddied when they drafted
Van Jefferson.
Yeah, Van Jefferson, I think, is a superior talent. So that's it. That my plan did probably fail, but we'll find out this year. Yeah, Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. I've got them neck and neck. I mean, I couldn't make the decision. I think one of these guys is a wide receiver 1. Potentially both of them. Both guys are guys that I want to have on my team. I want to point out, you guys have done a great job talking about Woods and Kupp, but no. Go back down, Matt. Go back down. Wait a minute. Keep going. Go. A little more. Oh, 22. Robert Woods. Disrespect. I'm done.
Who disrespected him?
You did. You put him at 22. You put Robert Woods at 22.
That's Roberto Woods. He plays for the Bills. He's their backup.
Roberto Woods makes more sense.
All right.
Robert Woods did actually play for the Bills.
Yeah, that's right. He did actually. Good call.
Oh, that's lucky, right. Man. That was lucky.
Go ahead, Tony. Wait, before Tony goes, huge news. May not matter to half of you watching or paying attention to this, but I'm a big Madden guy. So NFL 2K will be out in 2021. They actually just reached an agreement with the NFL Players Association. So that's cool. ESPN bringing back their old NFL simulator game. Go ahead, Tony. Give us your next two.
If I could do it again, I'd put Galladay and Sutton below Woods and Kupp. I'd just swap those guys. Galladay's an alpha. Galladay's an absolute alpha. And Matt Stafford's healthy again. There's not much to say about that. They call him Baby Megatron. I mean, come on. I mean, Galladay is one of those guys that can just take over the game if he has the opportunity. I think Cortland Sutton has the same skill set too. And I like Drew Lock. You talked about being a little bit unsure about what you think you're going to get out of Drew Lock. I think he's going to be good enough to get the ball to guys like Cortland Sutton. And then you add in, okay, Emmanuel Sanders left, which that kind of stinks, but you add in Jerry Jeudy, and Jerry Judy's going to demand attention. I mean, I don't think Cortland Sutton's in a worse position. Go back to my consistency. I mean, Cortland Sutton's role stays about the same. The field looks about the same. So I like him still. I think he's going to finish about where he did last year. And I'm giving him a little bit of a bump there because he's a year older and it's a year better. And they added Melvin Gordon. That's going to draw some attention. I mean, you
can't say that name on this podcast.
I'm sorry, can I say Mr. Gordon?
Given the way the rest of Tony's ranks and day has gone, we're going to let him have that one.
Okay.
Really? Has it been that bad? Come on, Fox.
Yeah. No, but we've been hard on you. So
yeah, you guys have been brutal today. This has been brutal. I'm never coming back again.
We wanted to welcome you back in fine fantasy football roundtable fashion.
I like Galladay. I like Sutton. I do wish I'd moved them down some. And had I had more time without the black box, I probably would have. But I'm glad the black box was there because at the same time, nobody was staring at it the whole time. I like these guys, but honestly, I think they're both wide receiver 2s with upside.
Wow, I was really happy with your ranking, and then you just diminished it. By the way, you're probably going to be the lowest on Kenny Galladay by quite a bit.
That's fine.
But I when you say people have
Who said,
doubts
by the
about
way?
Drew Lock, I think he meant Dennis, because I'm not struggling with doubts about Drew Lock.
I thought Bruning was. I'm sorry.
No, I love me some.
Okay, then it was Dennis. Then I was wrong. I'm sorry. It was Dennis. Dennis poo-poo.
One of us on here, that might be the one talking right now, wrote a Dynasty Nerds piece about Courtland Sutton being a wide receiver 1. So it would make sense that I have him ranked inside wide receiver 1. I think he takes a step forward. 72 receptions last year, 1,100 yards, some fantastic catches, and he had complete dog crap for his quarterback for 13. Let me do math. 11 games, as he had Flacco for 8 and Brandon Allen for 3, neither of which are still on the team. So what he did was really incredible. I think he and Fant are going to be great this year. I think it's going to be a slower come on for Jerry Jeudy. I think he's going to split time with Deshaun Hamilton, Tim Patrick, and Hamler. But I think Sutton will benefit from having more, like what you said. There's going to be more people on the field that they have to guard. Sutton was pulling down some incredible catches in traffic and double coverage. I mean, that first game that Drew Lock took over as a starter, his first touchdown he took over Hayward for the Chargers in the end zone was an unreal catch. I love him. And then I have DJ Moore. I am not probably as high on Carolina as some other people, but I still think he's going to end up having a pretty good season. So I have him just inside the wide receiver 1.
Yeah, I have Mike Evans at 12. The dude has had, what is that? 6 straight 1,000-yard seasons to start his career. I think even if he comes out of the gate a little bit slow, he had over 1,150 yards last season in 13 games, 17.3 yards per catch. So he's getting down the field, 8 touchdowns. He's getting in the end zone. Mike Evans is just a big old baller, and I feel like that it wouldn't surprise me, and this is the year for it to happen, that we have Godwin and Evans, Ridley and Jones, and Woods and Kupp all finish as wide receiver 1s.
Incredible.
It would be, that would be so 2020.
Yeah.
Evans is, Brady hasn't had the type of weapons at both receiver spots over the course of his career. I get it. He's old as fuck. He's an old dude, and he historically loves the slot guy. But when he makes a couple throws downfield and Evans catches them, regardless of how well he's covered, that's going to start to build confidence in Brady, and he'll be willing to take those chances. And Bruce Arians will be up in his ass with the no risk it, no biscuit. And he's going to be saying, look, man, just go get it. Go make those plays. You got 2 dogs out there. Throw the ball down the field and let them do their thing. DJ Moore coming in at number 11. I think he's the unquestioned number 1 in Carolina. I'm buying into Matt Bruning's love of Joe Brady a little bit, even though, Teddy is by nature a conservative quarterback. I think that where Moore tends to operate kind of fits Teddy's skill set pretty well. And so, DJ is going to lead the team in targets. He's going to lead the team in catches. He's going to lead the team in yards. He's in for a true breakout season, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say one thing on that. Teddy Bridgewater throws to the open wide receivers, and DJ Moore does a hell of a job getting open. So I have no doubt he'll be able to hit him. So I've got Courtland Sutton here at 12. I believe in Drew Lock, and I was just going to point out. So last year he had 126 targets, 72 receptions. 40 of those came when Drew Lock took over last year. He had more targets toward the end of the year. So Locke, you said took over in week 12, right, Matt? Was that when he took over? Allen went for week 11.
He played the last 5 games of the season.
So 5-7 his first two, then 10-10-8. All of that while Cortland Sutton clearly being the one, because Sanders was already gone. Everybody liked Fant. Fant did show up a little bit more in those games too, but they didn't have anybody else there. They played good teams like Kansas City, Houston, the Chargers, who have really good secondary, even though Derwin James was out. Yet Sutton still put up numbers. I think that even if Locke is serviceable, which I expect him to be better than that, Cortland Sutton's still going to get his. He proved last year he could be an alpha. He proved he could be the best wide receiver on, let's all be honest, kind of a bad team. Locke still got on the ball, and even Joe Flacco and Brandon Allen, who I think we can all admit are worse than Drew Lock, at least this point in Joe Flacco's career. And they were able to get Cortland Sutton the ball. I think Cortland Sutton
every point in Joe Flacco's career.
I wish I could have ranked Cortland Sutton higher. I probably could have, but I just felt like 12 was probably going to be the best spot to put him. Would not be surprised if it finishes closer to almost even 5. I really think Sutton's in for a huge year this year. Juju, I just think he's going to bounce back. I mean, he was too good his rookie season. I think a lot of last year was just he was injured a lot, and then obviously having guys like Mason Rudolph throw him the ball, he was not anywhere near a replacement value quarterback in Mason Rudolph. And trust me, this is not just coming from a Browns fan. I think Steelers fans would tell you that as well. So I think Juju, he's just too damn good. He's in a contract year because I think he kind of knows it. Steelers seem to say they're not bringing him back, it seems like. So I think he's going to try and prove that he's still – I don't think he's an alpha, but with that offense, as much as I think they'll throw the ball, because I don't think James Conner and all those guys are going to be as good as we've seen the Le'Veon Bells of the world run for Pittsburgh. They'll throw it a little bit more. Juju will get his. 10-9, Thielen and Allen Robinson for me. Thielen's really the only show in town. I think Justin Jefferson is going to take him a little bit of time to get used to it. Kirk Cousins likes to throw the guys that he trusts. So I think that's going to be Adam Thielen and Irv Smith. So I think if Thielen can stay healthy, he's still going to be a top guy. And then Allen Robinson, come on. He's proven it every single year. I think he finished higher than 9 last year with Mitch Trubisky throwing in the ball most of the year. Robinson is a stud. We've talked about it a bunch on here, all three of us. I'm sure Tony agrees. If Allen Robinson ever had a decent quarterback in his career, he'd probably be a top 5 guy. So Allen Robinson easily in my top 10, finishing at 9 for me.
So I have Juju at 10. Ben's coming back. He looks like he's healthy. Juju will move into the slot with Johnson and Washington on the outside. And that's where Juju operates best. He's got a lot of trust, great rapport with Ben. And I think he's going to they're going to revisit the 2018 days when it comes to production. And I've Adam Thielen at 9. While that offense is probably not going to throw the ball a ton, if you have Dalvin Cook, it's easy to run the ball. He doesn't have the competition for targets like he did when Diggs was there. I get it. Justin Jefferson's pretty good. Olabisi Johnson is competent. Irv Smith is going to get his. I think Irv is going to be the better of the 2 tight ends pretty comfortably when it comes to fantasy production. But I feel like Thielen is in for 130, 140 target season and is poised to probably he may have a career year this season.
So I have the same 2 as Dennis, but in reverse order. I have Thielen there at 10, and then Juju Smith-Schuster at 9. I think both are going to bounce back and have good seasons. And obviously Thielen, I agree that they're not the highest, probably not the highest volume passing offense, but I think it's going to take a while for Justin Jefferson to learn. I'm not a huge Tajay Sharp fan or thinking Olabisi Johnson's going to take a lot of targets. So I think Thielen, his only enemy last year was himself and his health. So if he can stay healthy, he's on there. And then Juju, I love him. I think you mentioned Mason Rudolph. We forgot about Duck Hodges, who was, his name was probably the best thing about his performance. But I'll cede the rest of my time to Tony because I would like to know he loves Robert Woods so much.
Oh my God, I was waiting for that. I was hoping I could just call myself on it. Apparently, I put Robert Woods down twice because I love him that much. I thought it was really weird. I thought for sure that I had Robert Woods as a wide receiver 1. Right. I thought for sure. I was like,
Roberto, That's Roberto Woods, plays for the Bills, right? I got you. We're good.
Roberto Woods. It was a typo. Roberto Woods is number 13. Robert Woods is number 9. I already told you why.
Hey, but the good news is you did have him as a wide receiver 1. Your conviction led you to get him in there.
Well, yeah,
I don't know why I put him down twice.
Make sure we knew Robert Woods, wide receiver 1 this year. Put it down. It's
put it down.
And he's a high-end wide receiver too. He's both.
He is both. That's locked in wide receiver 1 value. And you can draft him for like wide receiver 2 value. Come on, this is perfect. This makes my
kind of
point
averages
perfectly.
out to wide receiver 11. So
yeah, this is fantastic. This works out great. And Juju Smith-Schuster, I'm a little bit worried about. Ben comes back. I'll give it a shot. I want him to be a wide receiver 1, so I put him there. You guys, all 3 of you have him about the same spot, so I'm not going to labor on about Juju. I like the talent. I like the attitude. He's working hard. He's doing what he needs to. I remember him saying being a wide receiver 1 ain't easy. Is that what it was? It ain't easy being number 1 or something like that. I mean, I worry about
still
that.
only like 23 years old.
He's young.
He's younger than some of the rookies that are coming in. It's unbelievable.
It's discouraging to see him crumble without Ben when we see guys like Allen Robinson, and we're talking about Allen Robinson in the same territory. Guys like Allen Robinson have played with terrible quarterbacks throughout their entire career and have still managed to put up big time numbers.
So Juju hurt his foot, though. He had turf toe, which is not something that goes away very quickly. And for receivers who are doing cutting, I mean, he got hurt early in the season.
I understand, and that's why I'm still ranking him here. I still have respect for Juju. I mean, I still think that he's one of the best talents. I'm just saying that I'm anxious about this. I think that I could be wrong here. Juju might not be a wide receiver 1, but for now, I'm glad to see that we all had him about the same spot, and I can respect that. There's no reason not to do that for now. Can you get that black box up? Because I don't want to talk about Robert Woods anymore. I've already done that.
Can I say one thing? Because I actually think what Tony said is right. I don't think Juju is a wide receiver 1. I put him here because of the volume and the offense that I think he is in. If he goes to another team, I think he is a wide receiver 2. I don't
bury him.
Yeah, from what I saw last year, even before he, I know he was hurt and turf toe, and I think Julio is the only wide receiver that's produced with turf toe, and Julio is an Adonis. He's a gift, a God's gift to men and football players. So I'm not trying to say anything bad about Julio, but I do think that being with Pittsburgh and on that offense is why Juju's a 1. I do agree with what you just said there, Tony. If you were to go to, even if you were to go to the Browns and Jarvis moved on, they brought him there with Odell, he would be like a middle tier 2 for me, maybe. I love Juju. I just don't think he's a 1. Thielen is the best win now dynasty buy. I agree with you, Boz. Okay. He's rated way too low by a lot of people. I think a lot of that is the injury. All right. Trying to move up the black box here. I wanted to get that comment on that.
Here, thank you for your support. By the way, DeAndre Hopkins is a guy I'm probably going to be lowest on. New situation.
Not probably. You are the lowest.
I mean, here's the deal. I mean, it goes back to the things I'm saying before. New situation. I love Christian Kirk. Kyler Murray, I think, honestly, could be a potential MVP candidate. But he's a mobile quarterback. I mean, he's a guy that's going to run the damn ball. Kenyon Drake's ready to go. They've got Chase Edmonds. Nobody's talking about. I mean, people are talking about Chase Edmonds, but nobody's respecting Chase Edmonds right now. Chase Edmonds and Kenyon Drake could run away with the Arizona Cardinals, and I could see a world where DeAndre Hopkins only gets 8 targets a game. I mean, that's a realistic outcome here. And as much as I want Hopkins to be the wide receiver 1 that I drafted him as in my home dynasty startup, the situation has changed, and I don't see him getting the volume that he needs. On the other hand, Adam Thielen, I have ranked 1 spot above. I think his volume is guaranteed. You talked about that. I think it was you, Matt, or maybe it was you, Dennis. That Cousins, he likes to have a wide receiver that he can trust. Adam Thielen is that guy. The only reason that Adam Thielen's not even higher than this is because of injury last year. I mean, the man's starting to break down, and maybe I'm being too bullish here, but to me, in Minnesota, with the absence of Diggs, it's Adam Thielen's show now at this point. I mean, Adam, put this team on your back. Adam Thielen and Dalvin Cook. That's how the Minnesota Vikings are gonna win. That's it.
Okay, my number 8, I have Tyreek Hill. He's obviously the top wide receiver for Kansas City. I think he has some explosive games. They have a lot of weapons, but he's usually pretty safe to be in wide receiver 1 territory if he can stay on the field. And then Allen Robinson, I think he was wide receiver 6 in PPR last year, despite an inefficient offense and inefficient quarterback play. So no reason to think he falls off with the potential threat of either of those things this year. I think he's incredible. And someday Allen Robinson's going to get to play with a real quarterback, and I can't wait to see what happens when that happens. He's another one that's not very – I think – isn't he only 26 now?
He's young.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about that.
Feels like he's been around forever and, just late 20s. So I like him a lot.
So Robinson has shown that he can produce high-level numbers with shitty quarterbacks because he's done it his whole career. He's going to do it again this year. So he's the number 1 guy there. He's going to check in at wide receiver 8. I think we should officially declare him Alien Robinson because he's out of this world. He's going to put up numbers. He just does. As long as the injuries stay behind him, he's shown that he's going to drop, 85, 90, 100 catches and 1,300 yards. Kenny Golladay, he's the unquestioned number 1 in Detroit. Marvin Jones is good. I like Marvin Jones a lot. But it is Kenny Golladay in Detroit. He's big. He's fast. He's the alpha there. And I love Matt Stafford. I think him being back healthy, Golladay is going to get the opportunities to put up the top 10 numbers there.
All right, so for me, I've got Tyreek Hill here at 8. It's just a boom bust factor for me. Obviously, he's going to get you those long touchdowns. They call him the cheetah because he's the fastest player in the game. But he just doesn't get a lot of volume. And so that's kind of where I dropped him here. I expect he's going to give you those 30, 35s, probably even some 40-point games, but he's not going to be consistent. And I got Odell here at 7. Dennis kind of mentioned it earlier. It was so hard to rank Odell. I don't know if I'm not the highest on him, am I? Or am I? Where did Matt have him?
So you are the highest, but when I saw that, I would want to see my top 6, but I don't think I have Odell top 6.
Gotcha.
Roberto was supposed to be OBJ.
Gotcha. Okay, well, We'll let you talk about OBJ here. Then when I finish up over Roberto, he's a jag, anyways. Yeah, I mean, I want Odell to be higher, and I do think he will have a good season, a bounce back year. He does seem to be healthier than he's ever been, at least by his own admission. The Cleveland coaching staff they've talked about how healthy he is right now from the hip surgery. Or the core muscle surgery, I think is what it was. I think he's going to be perfect here in this kind of run-pass offense. They're going to do a lot of play action. It's going to work well for Baker and for Odell. It's going to give Odell more time to get open. We saw that a lot in Baker's rookie season. Why he was able to connect with like Rashard Higgins and Jarvis Landry was that they moved the pocket a lot. And we did not see a lot of that last year. They just tried to run straight fucking 9 routes and making the guys run down the field and just hoping Baker could stay in the pocket long enough to throw the ball deep, and it just didn't work out. And then they do the stupid trick plays. It was ridiculous. Stefanski's not going to do that crap. He's going to run an actual NFL offense, not a high school offense. I think that's going to help out Odell a lot here. I think he's going to go back and get to what he was in New York. I talked about it on my Browns podcast. He actually got targeted about the same amount. I think he's still going to get 90-something targets, a little bit more than Landry. I think he's going to be right around the 97 to 100 target mark. I think he's going to get probably close to 1,100 yards. And if he can bring those touchdowns up to 6 or 7 like he was doing in New York with Eli, he's going to be right back up here in the top 10 wide receivers in fantasy football, which is what he was in New York. And even if he doesn't stay healthy all season, he was able to do that in New York, and I think he'll be able to do it here. For me, I've got Kenny Galladay here at 6. I love Galladay. I mean, he's just an absolute stud. I'm sure I'm kind of, I'm not going to lie, somewhat paying attention here and there when you guys were talking about your guys. Galladay, he proved it last year with and without Stafford, and being the only guy once Marvin Jones went down, the only reliable target, and he was an absolute stud. I think he's going to continue doing that with Matt Stafford being back. If Matt Stafford can stay healthy, I would almost say I could see Galladay pushing for like a top 3 spot. Like, that's how much faith I have in Kenny Galladay. I think he's an absolute stud. It really just kind of comes down to Stafford's health. And then Julio, it was really hard for me to put Julio here at 5. But I believe in these top 4 guys more, including a guy that I see two of you guys have at 5, which I'm kind of surprised about. But I think Julio's an absolute stud. I do think the rise of Ridley is going to hurt. And yes, you're right. I don't have Odell. I'm trying to be more of as they mentioned earlier, I'm trying to be right more often than I am wrong now. So I'm trying to take my Browns bias out of it. So no Odell on my top 3 this year.
So I come in with Chris Godwin at number 6. They're going to be a passing team. I get that they have Ronald Jones and that they drafted Keyshawn Vaughn, and now they've signed Shady McCoy. I don't expect they're going to still be passing. I don't think they're going to pass 626 times like they did last season with Brady, but I do think they're still going to be a predominantly passing team. And so Godwin and Evans, they're the top dogs there. I know there's some thought Gronk will get some play and whatnot, but to me, it's Godwin. He may get more targets, especially initially, while Brady develops the trust downfield with Evans, because Godwin does tend to be the closer targeted guy. So I like Godwin a lot. I think he's going to show that 2019 was not a fluke. DeAndre Hopkins at number 5. Much like Tony said, I do have some concern moving to a new team. I don't, like I meant.
I think we lost him.
Dennis froze.
Yeah, he was so choked up about how low he had to put DeAndre.
I'm glad he agreed with me, though. Makes me feel good.
He knocked out. So I'll just
guys are all. I thought I would for sure be the lowest on Chris Godwin, and then here we are, Fox. Chris Godwin at 5. What? Okay, Dennis is back now. I'll let you finish before Matt tries and explains his ranking for Chris Godwin. Go ahead, Dennis. Finish telling us what you're sad about Hopkins.
Well, I think the high-level receivers, while there will be an adjustment, they adjust better. Hopkins is going to Arizona as the number 1. I think Kingsbury is going to make sure that he's highly involved in the game plan. And Kyler Murray knows that there's a difference between Nuke Hopkins, 103-year-old Larry Fitzgerald, and Christian Kirk. As much as I like Kirk, he's not Nuke Hopkins. So Hopkins is going to produce pretty highly.
My struggle, I want to challenge you on it a little bit, Dennis, because we talked about it before the show about how everybody was pushing Larry so far down. Fantasy football, that might be true, but if we're talking about real life football.
But we're not.
Okay. I mean,
you can challenge, but we're talking about
my challenge is that a guy like Larry Fitzgerald cannot be forgotten. You can't just not put him in the lineup. The man has done nothing to lose the job.
You're right. He's sorry, but Larry Fitzgerald is a 6-yard per target receiver at this stage of his career.
Yeah. And that's true. I accept that. That is true. I do accept that.
And he's going to be 3rd probably on the pecking order for targets below Hopkins and Kirk.
That's sad.
Might be 4th if you throw in Kenyon Drake.
Right.
5th if you throw in Hakeem Butler. So they got a lot of guys.
No one, even Hakeem Butler's mother, is not throwing him in. So.
How dare you, sir? I will kick you off this podcast. You say something bad about Hakeem
Dan
Butler.
Arnold said Hakeem who?
Yeah. And now to get back to your criticism, I've been listening to you talk about all these other receivers, like all off season, and it finally had an impact where I was like, this is not where I'm taking them in drafts. We already have established in every mock draft, I take Chris Godwin if Michael Thomas is gone, and I don't think about it twice. I got bid up in our Defi draft. Like, I was not going to lose Chris Godwin. The rest of my team is shit because I have so much invested in Broncos and Chris Godwin. But, you know, if we're being honest about 2020 rankings, you know, look, it's in my tag on my bar there. Chris Godwin fan club. I'm the president. I think having him as a top 5 receiver is a pretty good position. I just, you know, Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Adams, Michael Thomas didn't die, so I had to think about where I was going to realistically put him, and this is supposed to be a redraft 2020 rankings, so I put him there. Could he be higher? God, I hope so. I have so many shares. If he goes higher, that can only benefit our Monday afternoon conversations in the season. And then Kenny Galladay, I like Kenny Galladay. He's, I think he's going to be great. That's why I have him where I have him. I agree with Matt that he has, he could have even higher potential. He's very explosive. Let's hope. Detroit is probably a team, as you guys will see. If you will see if you read my preview for Music City Drive-In site. Detroit is a team I like a lot this year that I think is going to make a playoff run, and Kenny Galladay is a big part of that.
So can I ask one question before Tony goes?
Yeah.
Just real quick, because, Chris Godwin, truther, best friend, fan club, member there. You say that Michael Thomas, Devontae Adams, and Julio Jones didn't die yet. Chris Godwin finished as wide receiver 2 last year with Jameis Winston throwing in the ball, who consistently turned it over. We all talked about we think Chris Godwin is going to be the guy that kind of plays the Julian Edelman role for Tom Brady, who we've seen has made him top wide receiver 1 every single year. I think all 4 of us would agree.
Yeah, and so Edelman was wide receiver 9 last year in PPR. I think we've talked about too with the Buccaneers, with Tom Brady and better pieces, will be a better team, which means maybe fewer passing attempts. So that is why I took Godwin and Evans down a little bit. There were times in the offseason where I had Godwin at 2 and had Evans up higher. I took them down a little bit. We think they're going to be a little bit better. And plus that Shady McCoy got signed. I mean, that's going to throw the whole equilibrium off.
Yeah.
When he's not beating his children, he's going to be out there running the football for them, ruining all of our hopes and dreams for.
Of course, Shady McCoy is going to be on the bench for him. I'm not worried about that at all. All right, go ahead, Tony. Who you got?
Allen Robinson's one of my favorite targets in fantasy football. I mean, I love everything about Allen Robinson. I love the talent. I love the attitude. There's no issues off field. There's no issues on the field. I mean, Allen Robinson checks every single box, and he does it with with a terrible, awful, horrible quarterback. I mean, he does it every single year. Last year, he did it with Mitchell Trubisky. I mean, come on. I've worked with Allen Robinson's Within Reach Foundation. I mean, this is a guy that I just absolutely love. And to be fair, I want to rank him higher, but it's just because I like him so much. I mean, there's no reason to rank him any higher than this. Am I the highest on Robinson?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. I do believe he's a wide receiver 1. And yeah, we can make an argument. We're splitting some hairs here on some other guys, and I can see other players outperforming him. But if I'm making my ranking sheet to go into a draft, I want Allen Robinson really high on it because I know that in the 3rd round, he's still going to be there. And if I want to, it gives me all the flexibility in the world to have a wide receiver 1 who I believe he is. He has been a wide receiver 1 at wide receiver 2 pricing. Man, I want him even higher than that. I wish I could rank him wide receiver 1 overall because of his value. I mean, for me, Allen Robinson's one of those guys that I have to have every single time I go into a draft. He's a target of mine because I know what I'm going to get, and it costs me pennies on the dollar. And then Chris Godwin, we've all talked about this. I think Chris Godwin's going to be the target monster. He's going to fill the Julian Edelman role. If there's somebody to fill it that's not named Rob Gronkowski, it will be Godwin. And that's intriguing. He was already a producer. He's already a performer. So it's easy to put him right here. And that's my thoughts there. And am I supposed to go all the way up? You remove the box.
No, I'm going to switch up these last ones because there's only a couple mixed rankings. So I'll do my two because I've got the clear difference between you guys here. So for me, Chris Godwin, I have it for just at what I was mentioning when I was talking to Matt. I do think he plays the Julian Edelman role, which is why I have Evans a little bit lower as well. I think Godwin is going to be the guy who gets a ton of catches. And the one thing I think we can all say for Godwin is that he can score more. I don't think Edelman is quite as elusive or has the speed that Godwin does out of the slot role. So I really like Godwin this year. And then I have Hopkins there at 3, not much higher than I think Matt Dennis doesn't have that much more either. I'm not as worried about him going to Arizona, though. I mean, we saw him in Houston with some of the worst quarter. I mean, you can make the same until they got Deshaun Watson, and Watson's been healthy the past couple of years. You can make the same argument you just made for Allen Robinson for DeAndre.
That's true.
Kyler Murray, I agree 100% with what Tony said earlier. I do think he's going to be at an MVP level this year. I don't believe in Christian Kirk. He's had some good games, has been inconsistent, been consistently healthy. That's the only thing he's been consistent. Love Larry Fitzgerald, walk-in Hall of Famer. He's not going to do much, I think, fantasy or NFL-wise. He's a guy that will get you, when you need 3 yards, he'll get you 4.5. Outside of that, I don't see him doing much on the football field. The only people I see maybe taken away from Hopkins is Kenyon Drake and Kyler Murray when they run the ball. That's it. I think Hopkins is going to be the most targeted guy. And we saw, like I said, even when they had the crappy quarterbacks and he wasn't getting targeted as much, he makes the most out of his targets. Not going to burn anybody. But Hopkins, the guy, you can throw it within 50 yards of the dude. He somehow comes down with the ball. I love Hopkins. I'm not worried about him at all. And so those were my two. What I want to go to next is Tyreek Hill. So, Dennis, you and Tony are both the highest on him. You both have him at 4. I'll let Tony, since it was kind of your turn there before I interrupted, your thoughts on or why you have Tyreek Hill so high, and then we'll go to Dennis.
He has game-winning upside. That's the reason. I mean, there are games that Tyreek Hill will blow up and just win you the game. I mean, and that's what it is. And it's one pass. It's 2 passes. You don't know when it's going to happen, but it's Patrick Mahomes, and it's going to happen. Tyreek Hill has game-winning upside. So even though I don't expect him to finish as wide receiver 4, like this is not the way I anticipate the end scoring to be. He's my 4th favorite wide receiver. And in a dynasty league, he's my 3rd. Julio Jones gets moved down in the dynasty league, but Tyreek Hill has elite, unmatchable game-winning upside. And so despite everything else going on, I mean, that's why I like Tyreek Hill so much. He's one play away from winning you a game.
Yeah, I think Hill will finish as wide receiver 4. I just think on a week-to-week basis, he can put up a couple low scores that might hurt your team. Yeah. But overall, I mean, he's the clear number 1 receiver on that team. Mahomes looks to him when he has to scramble. He knows that Hill is going to break off his route, and nobody gets deep faster. Mahomes has a rocket for an arm. When they have to improvise, it's going deep and it's going to Hill. And Hill has turned himself into a really good route runner. He can make use of the route tree. He can take things close to the line and gain lots of yards. He can get open down the field. So as much as I like, DeAndre Hopkins or Godwin or Golladay, I think Tyreek Hill is the one who deserves to be at number 4. That offense is, Damian Williams opting out aside, that offense is prolific.
All right, then we'll kick it off here with Fox. You and Tony both have Julio at 3, and then I'll get your thoughts, Dennis, on him as you have him at 2.
Yeah, I mean, he's been so great for so long. It just makes sense to have him there. I agree with Tony. If you were talking about dynasty, I think that's where you've seen him go a little bit later, just probably because he's getting up there in age. But for 2020, you have to figure he and Calvin Ridley are really going to be the big mainstays in that passing game.
Yeah, for me, the presence of Calvin Ridley, that's what brings Julio Jones to 3 instead of 2. Devontae Adams has little to no competition, especially now that Funchess has opted out of the year. Michael Thomas is obviously the one. I mean, when I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, Julio Jones is the first guy that has any legitimate threat to eat into those targets. But that guy's going to what's he going to do, 1,200 yards again this year? I mean, Come on. I mean, if he led the league in receiving yards at 44 years old, would anybody be shocked? I don't think anybody would be shocked. Like, that's just who we're working with here with Julio Jones. The threat of Ridley, his presence, it does hurt a little bit. But now we're talking about the difference between wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 3. It doesn't hurt enough that I don't love him. So I love him.
You know, I just feel like Jones is he proves year after year after year he earns 150 targets and he makes good use of them.
Yeah.
I think Adams is great, and he it won't surprise me if either one of them finishes the wide receiver 1. But
if Adams does it, he did it off of touchdowns. He didn't do it off of yardage.
That's
Not
my
necessarily.
That's my biggest thing against Julio, though, is that I agree with what you guys are saying. He gets the targets. He does a ton with them. It's just he almost never gets the touchdowns, and that's why it's so hard for me to rank him higher, because that is a big deal. We need that for fantasy. Like for Adams, I was going to make the joke about, Devin Funchess has technically been opting out of football since 2015, but that's there. Devontae Adams doesn't have anyone competing with him. I do think possibly MVS or Lazard maybe take a step forward. But we've seen Aaron Rodgers, since he's been a starting quarterback in the league, when he trusts a guy, he will do those YOLO throws, and it always seems to come down. And Adams always seems to come down with them. And he scores those touchdowns. When they get in the red zone, if they're not giving it to Aaron Jones, which I think all of us agree, they should give the ball to Aaron Jones more often, he's throwing it to Devontae Adams. And Devontae Adams has some of the most sure hands in the game. If he doesn't get hurt last year, Matt, we were talking about it I think when we did the Packers thing, like if he doesn't get that turf toe injury in the middle of the year, like he had already put up 100 and something yards on the Eagles at halftime. And he was on pace for a huge year. Then he gets the turf toe, and even after he comes back, he's still an absolute stud. If Adams
he could end up getting like 150, 160 targets.
Yeah. Like if he stays healthy, I honestly think he's the one this year over Thomas. And I think Thomas drops because of Sanders. Thomas has never had someone like Sanders opposite of him. And I think that does hurt him a little bit this year. But go ahead, Dennis, because I did kind of just take over there from your.
No, I don't disagree with anything you said. I mean, in 12 games, Adams had 127 targets and 83 catches last season. Julio had 99 on 157 targets in 15 games. So it's if they're both getting 10 targets a game, now Julio had 400 more yards on 16 more catches. So he does definitely, he's about 2 yards per reception over Adams. There was one touchdown difference, 3 games. I think if they both played 16 games, then if I was to extrapolate out last season, then Adams probably has 7 touchdowns to Julio's 6. I'm in on Julio this year at the number 2. But like I said, I won't be the least bit surprised if either one of them finishes the wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever, had the situation that I love Julio Jones as a player, but in Dynasty, he's the most frustrating player to own because it feels like no one wants to give you what his value should be.
Which means you should be able to trade for him because people undervalue him.
Well, I don't think you can. I think that's the thing is like Julio Jones owners value him where they should. A top 3, 4, 5 at worst wide receiver in the NFL, but nobody wants to pay that. They want to pay like a top 15-ish wide receiver value is what they want to pay for. They don't want to pay for what he is worth, I think is what Matt's saying. And I agree with that.
Like 2 or 3 years ago, people were saying he was old and he's almost at the end. And here we are, 2020. Yeah. I mean, he feels like a lock to be in the top 3 of receivers. That's what makes it frustrating sometimes, All
right, you guys have anybody want to add anything else on Adams or Thomas?
No, I'm good. We got it, man.
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll do it for us today. A little bit longer than usual. A little bit.
We should at least mention who number 1 is.
It's Michael Thomas. Thomas. That's right there. I said it. I said it was Michael.
We
Thomas.
said it.
We didn't even mention it.
I mentioned it. I said Michael Thomas is the one.
In passing, you're going to take the best wide receiver in the NFL and just mention him in passing.
I think everybody knows it. I mean, what is there to say? He broke the reception record. He's on an offense that clearly values him where they should. Like I said, for me, the only thing I have to say on Thomas this year is I could honestly see him not being the one with Sanders there. Like Sanders brings a dynamic to that offense that they have not had. I think that he could easily take enough away from Thomas that a guy like Julio Adams, I don't know about. I love Hopkins. I don't know if I can see Hopkins being one. But Adams or Julio, or Chris Godwin sneaking up to that one spot just based on Sanders stealing just enough away from Thomas. But outside, I mean, he is a stud. There's nothing. I mean, most Buckeyes are. Let's just be honest with ourselves here. Most Ohio State Buckeyes players. Rondale Moore is the only good Purdue player that I can think of.
Under 5 years until Matt gets the Ohio State face tattoo.
It's already in the works, buddy. I'm just trying to save up the money for it. I'm getting the Buckeye right here on the cheat. All right. Anybody else want to say anything about the best wide receiver in the game?
Nope. Just needed to make sure it was acknowledged.
All right. So that'll do it for us today. Obviously, Tony, thanks for jumping on. It's always fun having everybody on here. A lot more busting balls and arguing, which I do enjoy. We will be back next Thursday with our tight end ranks. We're going to try and rank 20 of them. I don't even know if there's 20. I guess there technically is 20 tight ends in the league.
Well, there's like 1 through 6.
Holy cow.
And then 7 through 20 are all
20.
interchangeable.
Yeah, right.
There'll just be a lot of names on the list. The first 10 minutes of the show will go quick because that'll be the 20 through 6 range, and then we'll spend the next hour on the 1 through 6 guys because those are the guys that matter. And then we'll obviously be back on Monday with some preview of some division. I'm not 100% sure which one yet.
We should be on the AFC South.
AFC South. That's why Matt
Unless you're ready to start your division.
No, we're doing the Northwest, and I
left.
specifically saved the Browns and Bengals for the very last show.
So it should be Texans and Titans on Monday then. Texans and Titans.
I was working on pulling up the schedule. It is the Houston Texans and the Tennessee Titans on Monday. Everybody have yourselves a good weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we will talk to you guys again soon.
Right.